Hi, beautiful souls. Welcome back. This is the tarot reading for November. Ijutimba kachetsi ze utenayaka. Ijutio kumbu ukotaria shietsia mba akatie tunaya. Ejio kumbu eti se ekeniaka. Ezutia she sukanyana. Ekureti ingiaka. So the first thing I'm being asked to say is to focus upon your day-to-day life and not to put everything on hold, waiting for something that you feel is coming or that you feel is better than where you are now. Stay in the present and deal and look at and feel with everything that's coming up. Ejutea kumba aki chenze tunaya kuyetsa. Ezuti kungiatsa. Ejuti shoshienza kumuka chetsi esiana rakika. All in its own good time. All in its own good time. And that timing is perfect. Eshushesa, but not necessarily from your perspective, but certainly from a higher big picture perspective that can see many more influences and situations than we can see. So this too is another way to improve trust in something deeper within us, something divine within us. Ejukungiatsi shosheshia na makika triashet sakama. Ijuchiat sokumbu utriashesia amba akikenia. So I'm going to pull some Rider-Waite cards for this next month. And then I'll pull some of the unicorn cards. And I normally only pull one unicorn card, but I'm going to pull a couple for this month. Etu kriesha. So the unicorns really want to have a say in this. They have always been a part of the readings that I do. I was drawn to the unicorn cards as soon as I saw them, and I have used them pretty much in every reading I have ever done to get their perspective on what the reading is saying or what the session is about for the person that I'm working with. And isn't it good sometimes to get an opinion from out of this world? And from our perspective, the unicorns are definitely out of this world. So with much love and joy and laughter, they offer these cards. Ati kotriashietsi konyanda, oke jetsa konyana. Okay, so how I read the cards is, for me, they form a story. They form a pattern. And when they're in a different pattern, they mean something else. But in looking at this pattern and looking at the unicorn cards, we are going to be looking this month. We are all, whoever watches this, who's ever drawn to watch this video, be open to learning something about yourself through your relationship with your father, or whoever was closest to you, the male close figure when you were little. It could be an uncle, it could have been somebody that was your babysitter. So there is a male in your life when you were little that's actually had an influence about the perspective that you have about yourself and your life. And the two cards, and we will come to this one a little bit later, but the two sets of cards are love from your parents, from the unicorns, and the tarot, the Rider-Waite ones, are the King of Swords and the Seven of Pentacles, which is a card of reflection, reflecting upon the relationship with this male from your childhood. Now, this doesn't come up straight away in the reading, and when we get to it, I'll talk a little bit more about it. But the love from your parents sort of confirms that this is what we're all going to be looking at this month. So, of course, how we learn to relate to the men in our lives, whether we're male or female, is set up predominantly in those very early years by the male that we actually relate to, and also the male that we observe in our life. So who the male is, who the husband and the wife, how they interact gives you and informs you about what it is to be a man and how a man interacts with women or with work or with you as an individual. So the first card is the Judgment card. Now, this is rebirth. Now, it also is, in light of the rest of the reading, looking at things with a different eye, with a new eye. And what comes to mind specifically is the stories that we tell. Now, what do you say over and over in your life? What are the stories that you tell? What do you talk about with your friends or your relatives, co-workers? What are the things that you talk about over and over? And I suppose specifically in relation to what's not working, what that person did that they shouldn't have done. So we're really talking about stories that have an emotional charge, a negative emotional charge, things that get you riled up, things that are unfair in your life. So it's asking you to look at those stories from a different perspective. Now, when you are in the telling of a story and you are relating it and feeling all the emotions about that story, each time you tell it, you are reinforcing that energy within your life. You are recreating over and over a frequency signature that attracts certain situations to you that are actually a match for that energy of the story. So the first thing to do is to become a little bit aware of what is it that comes up all the time for you to speak about. And the truth is, our life begins to become a result of that story. We live the life that is related within the story, because that's how powerful our words are and that's how powerful the energies are. So have a look at what you talk about over and over. And what the card is asking you to do is to lift out and look at that story and that scenario and situation from a loftier perspective, from a perspective of the big picture, like, what could I be learning in this scenario that I keep talking about? And in fact, I believe that it has to do with that father card. So the first step is to look at your stories and see what it might be that you can, what the different perspective is that you could have about that. What is it you're learning? Maybe where it came from, how you feel when you tell it. How do you feel when you finish telling it? Are you drained? Are you pumped up because you've sent the adrenaline through your body again? So just take note of the stories and see if you can become the observer of it and understand what really is operating on another level that you might not be aware of. The next card is, what this is going to do is bring up the Page of Wands energy. And this is walking a different talk. So whatever you discover in the stories, it could be that you're constantly relating a moment of victimization, or you're constantly relating a moment where you, where somebody got one on over you. I think that's the term, that they took advantage of you. So whether you realize it or not, you are living in that energy, that victimization energy, or that it's not fair energy, or how could that have happened energy. And that's constantly creating your life. So the next card is to say, when you look at those stories and pull out and contemplate what it is that's in your life that it's trying to show you, you will begin to walk through the world differently. You will hold yourself differently. So you may, if you have been a victim, you might take up less space. You might shrink in on yourself, trying not to offend somebody. So when you identify the energy, it's asking you to be different. So take up space, extend your energy out and walk differently through the world when you have understood what's at the core of the stories. The next card is the World card. And it means that your world will begin to change around you because of that process of walking differently in the world. Now, it's to be not so serious about this. This is not to get on your own case when you suddenly identify that you've been talking about being a victim. It's just the process, and it's the process that we all go through from time to time. So have compassion is what the voice is saying, what the being is saying, and have a good laugh at your idiosyncrasies. Have a little laugh at your eccentricities, or, you know, don't look upon what you were doing as something bad. Just look upon it as something, as a process that you're going through in this journey of self-exploration. So again, when you begin to walk through the world with a different energy, inhabiting a different energy, the world will begin to open up to you in a way that has never opened up to you before, because your energy has shifted. And the meaning of this card is the world is at your feet. The next card is the Eight of Swords. So when you see this change, when you have gone through the process of these previous cards, you will begin to understand that it's your thoughts and feelings and energies which have sort of tied you up and gotten you stuck. And that it's shifting your own energy through choice, through different perspective even, or even just being aware of what you're doing can make a change. And that it's you that cuts the ties that bind you. So it's the person that you are talking about, or the situation that is in your story. You can't often change that, because you can't change anyone else. And a lot of times the things we're talking about are in the past, and there's nothing that we can do. So it's really an energy and a perspective change that you need to carry out. And that is what cuts that staff that's holding you back or holding you stuck in an unhappy place, or a what you would consider to be a non-evolving place, maybe. Now we get to the Dad card, or the male card. Now, you may not remember much about your dad, or that early interaction when you were between the ages of 0 and 7, approximately. So how we learn to relate to guys is often set up, as I said, about related to how we learn to relate to our father as a male figure. So have a look at how you relate to the men in your life, whether that is a boss, a colleague, a partner, somebody on the local council committee, and start journaling a little bit about that relationship. And if you can, bottom line, how that relationship makes you feel. Can you bottom line it into a phrase that says, he makes me feel like a fool, or he makes me so angry? There'll be a phrase that will define how you feel emotionally with your current male interactions. This card is about contemplating the men and the relationships with the men in your life. And you may find that there is a pattern in what you do over and over, and that pattern originated in those early years. So this is an invitation to do some journaling about the men that you interact with. It has, from this reading, had an impact on how you see yourself, what you think you can achieve, how good you are or how bad you are, for example. And when you look at current male relationships and move backward through all of them and see if there is a similar pattern, mostly there is roots to that pattern in those early years. So it's about coming up to this level of the observer of what's happening in your life. And from my experience, understanding the patterns and where they come from is really a huge part of changing your life and healing your life. So also journal about your dad and what your relationship was like. What memories do you have? You might only have a few flashes of a scene here, a scene there. Write about them as well. And as you write, you may tease out the edges of that memory, of that moment in time, which may reveal a little bit more. So what we're doing is trying to see from this level what we are doing over and over, and what we are programmed or conditioned to respond as because of that early one, and we can see it unfold in others. And that awareness is incredibly powerful. The next card is the Chariot card. So this will lead to movement in your life. It might unstick you from some situation. It might free you up somewhat to give you some room for movement in your life. Ejutia shokandi kombokotaria shetien nanamakika. Ejutia sikonia takama. Heshushessia nanamakia jatsa ukachia nanaka. Ezitia naka. Ezitia nakambuka chetsi sesa umbetinayaka. And what I'm being asked to tell you is that remember that these beings that you are journaling about, the men in your life, your father, the situations that you've had with them, that these men are souls on a journey of exploration just like you. And that in your interaction with them, whether that's good, bad, or indifferent, there is something that you are each trying to show and teach to the other as a gift, as a service to others. So this is part also of looking at these interactions from this point. It's not about blame. It's not about ultimately from this level about right or wrong. It's really about shining a light on an energetic pattern that you have operating in your system that's influencing what you are creating and living, and maybe what's holding you back. It will give you this inquiry will give you a different perspective and help you begin to move forward. with greater purpose. The next card is the Ace of Pentacles. So it's going to lead to a new beginning for you. So the aces are that new beginning. And normally this card is about money and a new experience of more abundance or money. But in reading it in this spread, it's about finding stability and security grounded in you. It's about not needing anything external to you to define you. That you know who you are, no matter how much you earn, no matter how many people like you or don't like you, no matter how popular you are, how many toys you have. So in reading the spread, what it means is that the attitude or the decision that you made, the assumption that you made about yourself through this interaction with this man early on in your life set you up on a specific path. And because of this line of inquiry, it's going to help you separate from that perspective if that perspective was not helpful, and that you will begin again or anew in a place where you don't need anybody to define you. You don't need anybody to justify your existence. You don't need anybody to give you value. Ejutia sukamba hesutea siangakaba ati genze kunaya. Akotariashia sikanda heshushe shoshana makotariashia naki kanariaka. Ijen zukatariashe sakamaka. Imbebea tukuria chakatsa asia shonaka enjukariaka. So the final Rider-Waite card is the Five of Wands. And so the outcome of this inquiry is the battles will soften. The struggles will soften. They won't seem so hard and set in stone. The issues around this month will become less serious, will become less impactful. And the knots, in a way, around whatever it is, loosen and give you more room to move. So the last two cards are the second and third unicorn cards, and it's brothers and sisters and hello and goodbye. So the brothers and sisters is an encouragement for you to go and talk about your childhood with your siblings if they are available, and to just generally bring up, what do you remember about dad? What do you remember about mom, their relationship? So the next time you're at the barbecue or, you know, having dinner or at the pub or something like that, just have a general conversation, because often our siblings have a slightly different viewpoint than us, and it will shine a light in a way that we couldn't see because they're looking at a different perspective to what happened when you were all little. Ijutea sukanya takiatsa, ijutea sukanyanda kamaka, ijutea shukaya chatsi embiaka. And so the last one is hello and goodbye. So it means that something that you now identify, you can let go. And the issue is, or the situation is, we are so close to it. We have had a perception that we've lived in that we often can't see it ourselves. And we don't know that we're doing it. We don't know that we're doing it. And when you have this line of inquiry, it helps you look at it differently, and it will help a shift take place. Ijukendia chotsakambo utiashia sakamba ati nenanyanga. Ijoteasi umbukotoria saka ashiatsa ashiatsa. So be interested and surprised at how your life changes over the month of November, simply by following what is guided for you to do in this reading. Imbia tushe ejukandandia kaki anarakikana ijuteasa achi shenaka. So take heart, all is well. Ijoten dokoriandra kikenjat sakamuka jatsanayaka idoteana a baatia she sunyana ijetia kumbeeti shekundiana kamakiat shatsena ijotea shusheniana makie ezutea shashiana nakikandaya. And we love you all. We love your journey. We love your experiences. And we watch with joy as you begin to untie yourself from these perceived knots. Ejukandia chetsasi hamba aki chenoka hesi eziana kambandia. So much love to you. Bye, and have a wonderful month.